Good afternoon, distinguished city gentlemen. Let us close the market. Closing prayer, please.
Shall we pray? Almighty Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for a successful trading day, and we thank you that.
Closing gong there live from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, signaled an end to trading for the day. Welcome to the show. It's day 2. Senate screens more ministerial nominees. A lot of expectations from this new ministers. We'll talk on that. It's a big one. Telecom's giant MTN announces the retirement of its board chairman, Pascal Dozier, and 5 others, other non-executive directors from the company. You know, the company just got listed on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange a few months ago and has been doing pretty well on the bourse. The reintroduction of value-added tax charges on transactions in the Nigerian capital market takes effect from today. So much attention on the ongoing ministerial nominees. That's it. Ministers are the center of economic management, fiscal policies. They are the policy makers. We'll keep a tab on them while we'll briefly also look at IMF growth forecast for Nigeria. Seems to be looking better than what it was before. It's Business Nigeria. Ministerial screening continues today, Thursday, at the Senate. 10 nominees were screened on Wednesday. They include former Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amechi, former Education Minister, Adamu, amongst others. 6 of the nominees were not questioned, but asked to take a bow and go. Earlier today, the Senate screened Tayo Alashuadura from Ondo State, Time Silva from Bayelsa, Ramatu Tijani from Kogi State. More ministerial nominees will be screened when the Senate resumes from its recess. Telecom's giant MTN has announced the retirement of its board chairman Pascal Dozier and 5 other non-executive directors from the telco. In a letter to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the company said the investing public and other stakeholders should note that the retirement follows the expiration of their tenure and in compliance with applicable codes of corporate governance. Also retired Vice Chairman Sani Bello, non-executive directors Victor Odili, Hamed Tasuki, Babatunde Folawiyo, and Benga Oyebode. The company also announced the appointment of former Executive Vice Chairman, Nigerian Communications Commission, Ernest Ndukwe, as Chairman Designate. Other board members of the telco includes Chief Executive Officer Ferdinand Moman, Independent Non-Executive Director Michael Onochi, and Anjuku, while former Minister of Communications Omobola Johnson was appointed as one of the non-executive directors. The retirement takes effect from September 2nd, 2019. The interbank segment of the foreign exchange market has received a fresh boost of $210 million from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Figures obtained from the CBN indicates that the authorized dealers in the wholesale segment of the market were again offered the sum of $100 million, while the small and medium enterprises window received the sum of $55 million. The visible segment of the market got the sum of $55 million. The Director of Corporate Communications Department, Isaac Okorafor, says the Apex Bank remains pleased with the prevailing stability in the foreign exchange market. The International Monetary Fund says that despite its reversal of Nigeria's growth forecast, a positive oil price outlook will support the country's challenging economy in 2019. The development is still reaffirming Nigeria's dependence on the performance of hydrocarbon despite an improvement in non-oil exports and diversification efforts. Head of Research at FSDH Merchant Bank, Ayo Akinwumi, now joins us now via Skype from Lagos Island. Ayo, it's great to have you join us on the show.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Ayo, straight up, I'm going to ask you this before we move on. What's your take? The screening is on. What are you looking at? Minister for Finance, Minister for Budget and Planning. Get the economic team on the way. What are you thinking?
Without going into specific or making a projection of who and who will get one portfolio, is good that the president has sent out the list to the National Assembly for them to screen. And I just do hope that whoever gets what, when they are eventually confirmed and they get their portfolio, they will hit the ground running immediately. We've almost lost close to 2 months, and we can't wait any longer.
When you say immediately get the ground running, we've seen the central bank try to play its own role in stability of price, making forex available and all of that. Definitely we need the fiscal side. Where do you think we should start from if we were to be specific?
We need to come up straight away and talk about how we are going to address the infrastructural problem in the country. Road, we need to reform the port to ease export from Nigeria. We need to also, this one is not really fiscal policy, but in terms of providing adequate securities in the country to ensure that even the intervention the central bank is giving to the government, I mean the banks, the sectors of the economy, to people who are in, going into agribusiness, the federal government needs to ensure that farmlands are secured, and then there are incentives for them to ensure that when they produce, they can sell or offtake from, get an off-taker from them, so that we don't have a glut in the market.
Let's look at some moves again by the Apex Bank, trying to make commercial banks lend more to the rail sector to help kickstart this economy. This is something that everyone has always talked about. Lending rates should be, on the low side so that people can get funds to run small businesses. But some are saying this move seems to be a little aggressive. I don't know if you think that way, not wanting banks to put a lot of monies in foreign exchange and to do treasury bills, government bonds and all of that.
The truth of the matter is that banks want to lend money to the rail sector. That is their primary responsibility, that intermediation, to take money from the surplus sector, the depositors, and lend to the deficit sector, the people with investment and business ideas to grow the economy. And with doing that, the banks are taking a spread on that. That's how they can get a return on equity on their on the money they are investing. But then if the environment is not conducive for banks, if there are a lot of risks inherent in the economy that will not allow the money they are lending out, the credit creation, the money to come back, or the economy is so harsh, then bank will be hesitant to lend money. So all the effort that the central bank is putting in place, if there are no complementary fiscal policies, fiscal incentives to de-risk the economy, to ensure that the business environment is conducive for business owners, business people to thrive, there may likely be incidents of non-performing loans, which will not be good for either the banking industry or the economy at large. So, and that's the reasons why we are saying the fiscal authorities need to come to provide incentives to support business, community, to ensure that the loans that central bank is encouraging banks to extend to the rail sector of the economy achieve the desired objectives.
Okay, let's look at also this move to create jobs in the agricultural sector, which is what many also expect. That's talking about diversification now, palm oil, cotton, and all of that. The CBN is also doing a lot, trying to encourage farmers. We know the Anchor Border scheme and all of this. Do you expect all of this to be expanded, or how can we really get what we want? We're yet to feed ourselves as a nation.
It is very sad that as a nation, we are an aggregated economy. Our land is good for agricultural purposes, and that we are still exporting food to Nigeria. This is placing a lot of pressure on the foreign exchange and not allowing the currency to be where it should be priced. And that's one of the reasons why the bank is doing what it's trying to do, to ensure that there is less pressure on the foreign exchange, there is there are job opportunities for the youth, which is the population is quite large in Nigeria, and where you have able-bodied who are supposed to be gainfully employed, not employed, then devil will find something for them to do. And that's one of the things that we are seeing in Nigeria, that we are having escalating, crises in the country today. So people are supposed to be gainfully employed with their energy, youthful energy, and they are not doing anything. Then they can do whatever they want to do. Okay, so the central bank is trying to approach all this, but then, like mentioned earlier, the environment must be right. Government needs to provide incentive all over the world. When you have a crisis, a situation like we have in Nigeria, government will need to step in. Even the business community, we've seen some countries around the world that government call, when to look for investors and give them land free of charge and tell you, go and build your businesses, your companies, and they provide even market for them in some instances, because ultimately, when you create more jobs, people have more money to buy things, people will pay VAT tax, people will pay, personal income tax, companies will make more money, and then government will earn more corporate tax. So government revenue will go up. So really, and there will be peace in the country. So those are the ways that the federal government needs to come in to ensure that, and that's why we can have a broad-based economy that just one sector that's not performing well will not affect the overall performance of the economy.
Ayo, let's look at this report from IMF saying that financial year 2019, the projection, that's growth forecast for Africa's most populous nation, Nigeria, now stands at 2.3%. That's a higher, like 0.3%. Before it was projected to be 2%, now they're talking about 2.3%. But what do you think about this? And they're saying that the outlook has the theme, sluggish global growth, call for supportive policies. What is it that you think Nigeria can do to get this right? 2.3% is not really very impressive.
Good news, an upward review from what we were before. But then if you look at what the IMF is saying, the improved review, the upward review in the outlook for Nigeria is hinged on the higher than expected oil price, which the IMF also alluded to, that is very volatile, but it has supported our economy. So whatever happens to oil price affects Nigerian economy. We need to move away from this. In the next 10 years, the demand for oil that we are seeing today may not be the way it should be, because a lot of companies a lot of countries, making companies are producing electric cars that will no longer be using, petrol. We need to quickly move and use the money, the revenue we are generating from oil today, to develop other sectors of the economy, so that we can have various sectors in the economy that are bringing money, that bring source of revenue generation for the country, and then source of foreign exchange earners for the country. But then this will not happen if we don't have this base on which the companies can thrive, companies can develop, and which is solid infrastructure. So, and that's why we are saying, build strong infrastructure in the economy. Let's have good roads. Let's have good transport network across the country. Let's have power that works, such that the goods that we are producing in Nigeria will be competitive, both locally and internationally.
Are you of the idea that we pay this cost-reflective tariff that the distribution companies have always clamored for, while we still have this erratic supply over in between 4,000, 3,500 megawatts for a country of 180 million people?
I've discussed that on this program a number of times. I can't agree less. We have electricity is not a public good. It is a private good. If you want investors to put in money there, to bring in their money there to overcome the current issues we have, you've got to have the pricing must be right. If the pricing is not right, I'm sorry, there is nothing we can do. Government signed an agreement, federal government signed an agreement with a German company, Siemens, this week. Good move. However, government must realize that we need appropriate pricing. Got to have the pricing must be right. If the pricing is not right, I'm sorry, there is nothing we can do. Government signed an agreement, federal government signed an agreement with a German company, Siemens, this week. Good move. However, government must realize that we need appropriate pricing for companies to invest money in that area to overcome the challenges that we have today. When you review the price and the revenue, the price can cover the cost, then it's an incentive for private capital to come to the sector to invest. And then even at a higher level, you still realize that it is still be cheaper for industries, for private individuals, household, than the alternative source of power, which is going to buy diesel, going to buy petrol to power your generator. So I can't agree less. We've got to review the price upward. We're going to have a temporary challenge, but long-term, benefit for the country.
Ayo, if you were to be the CEO, would you take off subsidy?
The answer is yes. It's a drain on federal government revenue, mega revenue the federal government has. We have got to allow people to pay for it. Focus, I will take it up and I will put the money in the provision of affordable health care for poor Nigerians. I will use it to refurbish schools. I will use it to provide security, and then the economy will thrive, and then we can grow better and create more jobs. There is no reason why government should be spending money on that area where other areas that actually affect the poor, they are not doing anything about it.
Ayo Akinwumi, thank you very much for your time. We see how we go on. Just one word before you go. The Economic Recovery and Growth Plan is one very big and important document of this administration. Moving on, what would you expect from the economic team in actualizing all of the beautiful projections in that document?
I think we need to like I said, clearly involve private sector, come up with infrastructure, overcome power, provide power, adjust the tariff, let's increase power generation distribution in the country, and then improve the environment in terms of affordable, in terms of providing enablers that can accelerate growth.
Ayo Akinwumi, thank you very much for your time. Head Research, FSDH Merchant Bank. Thank you for joining us on the program. Well, after the break, we'll bring you more and, of course, live feeds from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where market editor Effiong Ekop is standing by. Let's see what's happening there. If it's the greens or the reds, we'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. The reintroduction of value-added tax charges and transactions in Nigerian capital market takes effect from today, July 25th. The VAT charges and transactions in the capital market were suspended in 2014 by the then Minister of Finance, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, to encourage increased trading activities in the market. Okonjo-Iweala had set up a committee to revive activities on Nigerian Stock Exchange following the financial crisis and extended periods of negative market sentiments recorded on the bourse in previous years. Market editor Effiong Ekop joins me live now from the exchange. Hello, Ekop. Let me start with this VAT value-added tax on transactions at the Nigerian capital market. Any reactions on this development directive?
Because of the weak nature of the economy and what the brokers are passing through, they really want the taxes to be down to the minimal level. So from what we have now, they really need it to be much. They will appreciate something like 0.1%. So that's what they look forward to. In the market cycle, we had in mid-trade, we were in good trade. We had prices, ticking in green. But big cap stocks in the premium board, they reversed that alternative, and we had a market close. Look at the likes of Dangote Cement, MTN, Access Bank, Zenith. They all reversed price gains that we had in mid-term, and then we now had to close red, forcing the index to do 0.35% downward, meaning that so many stocks that traded today, left the trading floor with bags of losses, and that's a reduction on the value of investors' investment. We've had this over a period of time, and we thought that with what the federal government has put in the last 2 days, there will be a reverse of the trend. But the big cap stocks in the premium board refuse, to accept that, and they force the market to toe their lines. Don't forget, the market looks up to big cap stocks and they align premium boards. There are the heavyweight, traders. And so whenever and how they decide the price movement, the rest of the market follows. I list them again: MTN, Zenith Bank, Access, First Bank, Dangote Cement. The 5 of them. So we traded lower.
One would think naturally that with the ongoing screening and the National Assembly for the ministerial nominees, this confidence, talking about those investors sitting on the fence, maybe they'll be jumping to this side of the fence or the left or the right side of the fence, coming into the country with their portfolios and coming with dollars to do more business with us. What is happening? That seems not to be the case at this time.
Well, that expectation is not well met, and I believe we need to wait and see each of the nominees take up his own portfolio in the ministry. So probably the kind of action plan that the ministries, set out may well influence the market. That right now, it is normative, tendency that we see. One thing again that we are expecting in the market between now and next week, most of the quoted companies are supposed to turn in their half-year result. And if these results come out good, then it may also spur investors to come to the trading tables and then part with some funds. Right now, we have eyes on the likes of Cadbury and Lafarge Wapco. These 2 companies have performed well in their half-year in the sense that they came out of huge losses that they have been carrying along, and then they are now on profits level, so that should attract investors.
Okay, there, my colleague there, Effiong Ekop, live from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Thank you, Ekop. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll see how it plays out at the end of the week. Well, it's on that note that we wrap up our show. Thank you very much for watching. Let's do this again, as usual, same time tomorrow.